Greetings, YouTube. I'm still reading Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow, and someone was nice enough to post a bunch of information on my video where I was talking about uh, bias, where the author's work was actually kind of lampooned and shown to be flawed. So you might want to go check out the links that were put up there. That you might find that interesting. But it occurred to me at one point that you could sum up a lot of the book with the simple statement and the title of this video: life is a bell curve. And one of the problems is that many people have jobs where the cycle of their job is not quick, and it's not regular, and it's not stable. So for example, say you're doing projects at work and they take about a week. So that's 50 projects a year. It's going to be difficult for you to see a pattern amongst those 50 projects, particularly because you're always involved in the next project. I apologize for the washing machine in the background. You got to film when the inspiration hits you. But I work in a factory, and the job I'm working right now, in fact, that I've been running this every single time, every shift for the last, I think, six weeks. I make about 250 pieces per day. It's a single cavity mold. It's a 45-second cycle, but the machine has to close, and it has to open, and it has to inject, and there's a bunch of different things that make the cycle more than 45 seconds. That's just the time that the rubber bakes inside there after it's been injected. Then you take the part out, you put a new piece of steel insert in, you hit the go button, and it does the whole thing over again. Then you cool the part for 3 cycles, and you trim it. So while I'm trimming the cold part, the machine's making a new part. That's how it's supposed to work, at least. And when the parts trim really well, I can have 20 seconds left in that timer when I'm finished. After I trim the part and I inspect the part, I put it on a test fixture. If it passes the test fixture, and they always pass the test fixture is useless. It's just there to appease the customer. I then put it onto a stack, and I address the machine. Now, on bad cycles, when the parts are not trimming well, the machine opens up, and I'm still trimming and inspecting that part, which is no fun at all, because now I'm losing time. But I have to go through the whole cycle. I can't get backed up because I don't have enough time between cycles to get caught up. So I finish the part and I address the cycle. But of course, most of the time, I have between 5 and 10 seconds where the machine is not quite done yet, and I'm finished. I do paperwork, I make labels, I put up new inserts, I box and bag, and all kinds of different things. But sometimes I just stand there because I'm done and I'm waiting for the machine to open up. Okay, I usually take that time to make sure that things are working right. This particular machine has a nasty habit of the rope breaking that feeds the rubber in, so I have to keep an eye on that, and I have to make sure things aren't running out and stuff. But if you do this 250 times a day, it's really easy to see the pattern. It's really easy to see that the really good cycles and the really bad cycles are the outliers. And the rest of them are in the middle, in this wonderful bell curve. I see it very viscerally. This isn't just me. Any job that has a short, regular, stable cycle will show you this. There's lots of things like learning music and learning chess and learning doing art. If you're doing this on a regular basis and you can look back at things, okay, you win more chess games, your music is more flawless, your sketches are looking better. And I can look at my old sketches and tell you, just by glancing at them, those are early sketches, that's a later sketch, because I got better. And when you get better at something, your bell curve moves to the positive. But you're still in a bell curve. And if you move far enough over, your bad actions, your bad times, will be the average of an amateur, which often gives amateurs the opinion that good people who are experts at something, never screw up. Of course they screw up. They screw up all the time. Sometimes they screw up spectacularly. But because they've had that expertise, their low point is the midsection of an amateur's bell curve. And of course, on good days when I'm trimming at work, the bell curve moves to the good side. There are days when it trims really well all day long, And then there are days where it trims badly and it goes in the other direction. And when even the best I can hope for is the average of your average day, and those are very long days, and they happen. Sometimes because it's warm or humid, sometimes because the machine isn't properly tuned up, or it's just tired, or the rubber's not right, or the inserts aren't right, or it's Tuesday. The Tuesday factor cannot be overstated. Sometimes things don't work because it's Tuesday. But I see that bell curve. It's right there in front of me. And I realize over time that that bell curve applies everywhere. We just don't see it in our everyday lives because the day-to-day cycle is slow, often not regular, not stable. That's called the trout, by the way. Um, there actually are lyrics to it, I found out. My wife was very disappointed because she couldn't write her own. I don't know why she couldn't write her own, but she did. But our lives don't have that kind of cyclic nature that lends itself to be readily noticed as a bell curve. That's what it is. Average days. And if you have a really good cycle, don't bet on the next cycle being just as good. The official scientific definition of that would be like regression to the mean, but the colloquially we can just say you're more likely to get an average result. And if you have a really bad cycle, you're unlikely to get two of those in a row. The next one's probably going to be closer to the middle. That's just the way it is. And it's okay. Accept it. If you get really good at something, you will move that bell curve to the positive. And there will be times when you have external forces, or even internal forces. Like, for example, at the time of this filming, I'm depressed. That makes my life harder. It dampens my capacity for intuitive thought. It means my executive function is being taxed because I have to think my way through everything. So I get very frustrated because you only have so much executive function. Without my intuitive system up and functioning properly, a lot of the stuff that we would just kind of pass off as automatic, you just do it because you do it because you do it because you do it, isn't working right now. I got to think my way through every goddamn thing I'm doing right now. And it's horrible. I don't like it. Nope, I don't like it. I am not Mr. Horse. But that's what life is. It's an average. Good days and there are bad days. Most days are in the middle. Most days are okay. And it's important to remember that. If you have a job that lets you see that bell curve, I think that helps for you to understand that. If you have a job that's far more unstable and far less regular, if you work in the medical field, for example, that's a chaotic environment where it's going to be very hard to see patterns. You know, lots of things where you don't. If you're working on a project that's going to take a year and a half to complete, you're not going to see many. You're not going to make many of those projects in your career. You're not going to see those patterns, but they're there. And you may regress to the mean, and that's okay. The mean's not so bad. Having results in the middle isn't horrible. I was first really introduced to the bell curve in a very direct way by gaming, in particular the game GURPS, which uses 3 6-sided dice to roll a result, giving you a score between 3 and 18. And yeah, you can get a 3 and you can get an 18, but you're more than likely to get a 10 or 11. That's just the way it's going to roll. That's the way the dice roll. Though I did once see someone roll 7-17, the 6 17s once. 6 17s consecutively. It was amazing. They weren't loaded dice either. It was amazing to watch. He had a really good character. But that's how I was first really introduced to a bell curve in a way that really kind of, clicked in my head. I'd read about it in school before that, but it didn't quite make it into my head the way rolling those dice and seeing that bell curve show up those results over and over again. Understanding that there's the bell curve right there, 10 and a half or 10 or 11. So that's what life is sometimes. It's bell curve. And I think it's important to know that, and it's important to understand that you're going to have good times and you're going to have bad times. But most of the time it's going to be in the middle. If you have a hard time seeing that, ask somebody else for help. There's nothing bad, nothing wrong with that. Ask somebody else for their opinion. Are things really as bad as I think they are? Because they maybe aren't. Your depression can be getting in the way, like mine does, and is. And it's good to get that out, external validation that every day is not going to be like this. That your averages are okay, and that you're still going to have those good days, even though you believe that you're going to have nothing but bad days. Because you're not. It just doesn't work that way. So it's okay to be average sometimes. Sometimes average is just fine.